pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Mr. Bittner is absent, so I will be chairing this meeting. Public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. We have a public hearing for 1 Main Street. Yeah.
The Lunenburg Planning Board will hold a public hearing on November 27th, 6:35 PM at the Joseph Bellotta Meeting Room, Town Hall, 17 Main Street, Lunenburg, Mass. 01462, to hear and discuss an application for a special permit under Section 250-4.17.h.3 of the Code of the Town of Lunenburg, Mass. to install a 34-square-foot freestanding sign at 1 Main Street, map 071, parcel 0095, Lunenburg, Mass. Applicant/owner is Lunenburg Village Realty Incorporated, Box 681, Concord, Mass. 01742. Materials available for viewing at the Planning Office, 960 Mass Ave, Lunenburg, Mass. 01462.
Excellent. Good evening.
Good evening. Should I explain the proposal?
State your name and then, please.
Sure. Philip Archidiacono for Lunenburg Village Realty. The village, which, as you know, fits in nicely in an old colonial town center, has a big problem in that a number of our tenants aren't visible from the street. And we have one large sign on the white brick side of the building that faces Main Street, but that's typically not seen by people driving on Massachusetts Avenue. And for a number of years, our tenants have asked, is there any way we can get another sign for more visibility? Mm-hmm. And with the special zoning that is in place now with the center of town, there is a provision which brings me here in front of you to see if, through a special permit, we can put a large, traditionally designed, non-illuminated sign that will identify this as the village and enable us to put in signage underneath the village masthead that can accommodate the tenants, and design, if tenants go, we can change the space, the tenants that are shown beneath the village masthead over there. We believe the simpler the sign, the more inconspicuous, so we don't put a lot of heavy trim on this or anything like that, but use the same script that's on the village now, so people recognize that this is all one entity. As you see further down Massachusetts Avenue, the bank and the post office have their own freestanding signs. No need to have them appear on this sign. This will be for the people that are in the, for lack of it, the upper part of the village. We need to, the constraints don't allow us to put the sign back, which was 20 feet was the typical setback, correct, I believe. But given the sidewalk, the lawn, and now the patio, which is in place, what we propose is a 9-foot setback from the street, and it would be closer to the parking area, as you can see on the plan, closer to the parking area, as far away from the intersection with Main Street as possible, so that we're not obstructing visibility and giving people too much information to absorb too quickly. And it's a 2-sided sign, so you could read it coming up to the center of town from Fitchburg, or going away from the center. If you see, as you're going with your back to the center of town, you'll still be able to take a right turn to our parking lot that will serve the village. It's not as if you have to go backwards because you saw the sign after you saw the buildings. And we've also positioning it so that there's enough room with snow plowing that things aren't interfering over there as well. We keep it set back from that parking area that the restaurant uses.
All right, so you could, if you pass it heading west, you could hit the lower parking lot.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Okay.
Which everyone goes into to go to the.
So
post
in
office.
this image, we're just missing some perspective, correct? It should be, I mean, it should look like it's,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
that's the software he has. It only puts it on there.
Yeah,
At
so,
an angle.
It would be perpendicular to the sidewalk, and yeah, it should show that
yes,
it's.
exactly. Okay, thank you. So it'll be this way, not,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you look at the drawing.
Or, no, I'm sorry, this way.
Yeah, if you look at the drawing, it's drawn straight.
Okay.
Did you say there was a 9-foot setback from the street now, instead of the 20 that's shown?
I think I wrote it in by hand.
I think
Well, it's
What-
20,
Or 9 feet.
in the original filing, he was marking the street as the edge of pavement, as opposed to the definition in the bylaw, which says street is the edge of right-of-way.
So it still
he's
is shown.
20 he's 20
it's only
feet from
9,
the edge
right.
of pavement, he's 9 feet from the edge of the right-of-way.
Okay. Beautiful, that's appropriate within our bylaw?
Yes, as you see, you have an email from the building commissioner stating he has no comments. Where this is in the village district, there's no specified setbacks on signs, because the board felt they needed to be liberal in their setback requirements, both for buildings and other uses. So the special permit process governs that setback process.
Which is what we're here to.
Correct.
I've talked to a number of your tenants in the past, and I know this will be a welcome, a welcome signage for them.
Yeah. It's a beautiful design. It just, everything I tell all the tenants coming over there, you've just got to accept the fact people don't see your storefront. But we want, as you know, we're doing what we can to keep the center of town with life in it. This, we think, could help.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea.
Yep, just so you know, might predate some of you folks, there was a sign there years ago, maybe 15 years ago, that we had a smaller, but we had hung that with the different tenants, and, it didn't last. It was a smaller wood sign, so there was a precedent for it. Now we'd come back with something that we think is more suitable, long-lasting.
So my only question is, the sign that you have on the village today, each of the tenants has a kind of a customized sign representative.
Yeah,
representation.
we give them,
Give them a block
The
and they
block
put whatever
that we
they
say.
want in that block.
yeah,
Is that the standard plan for this, that you're gonna give them a block and they're gonna put whatever they want in
Yeah.
that block?
what I think we're going to do is, that is sized so that every tenant would get more or less the same block if it was all full with the maximum number of tenants. To help the tenants, I think what we'll do is we'll say, okay, we don't have whatever it would be, 20 or 18.
So bigger tenants would get 2 blocks or something like that?
Yeah, and we might even now say, look, realistically, the ones who want to be out there, maybe it's a half a dozen. So to fill that area, you might be able to get twice the signage. We would not exceed.
So you
the
won't
parameter.
exceed the size, but you'll have flexibility in the blockage of the signs, and each
Yeah, and-
business will be responsible for the content, okay.
Yeah, and I would tell them,
Be very
okay,
similar to the sign that's posted on the front.
yeah, except as you had sort of suggested, some might be twice as big because we might have that space now, and I tell them, if all of a sudden we're filled up and everyone wants a sign, you're gonna have to come up with a smaller sign. I think they're willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds reasonable to me.
Yes.
I have a question. This, I'm under the impression this requires a building permit.
It will.
And then, is this considered, because I'm looking at APDC, is this considered contributing property in the
Yes.
district?
I would have to look at that. I don't know that the
Almost certain.
village, I know that the market property is, but I believe this is a separate structure. And that would be,
No, you're right. Yeah. It's not the building.
Well, the APDC's rules go into effect on Friday.
correct.
Could you tell me what that stands for?
The Architectural Preservation District Commission, which you
Our
appeared
part
for, in front of, for the roof to the market property. So they've gotten their rules sorted out, and they, Mr. Jeffrey said go into effect, is it Friday?
December 1st.
Okay, so if this were a contributing property, they would,
I didn't think signs came into play in architectural preservation.
because it's not an alteration to the,
It's not a change to the building.
Right.
That's what, yeah,
I think
they,
signs are
they have no
under,
provision in their guidelines that
For
discuss
signs, yeah.
signs.
right.
and under Mass General Law, if you approve the special permit tonight, the applicant could proceed at his own peril with the understanding that should somebody file an appeal, he could be required to reclaim the property to its previous standard. So if he went and pulled a building permit tomorrow, you voted and said, we give you permission, and he went and pulled the building permit tomorrow and installed the sign, and after the decision was filed, somebody filed an appeal, and the decision was overturned, the court could require him to remove whatever construction he had done. So it would be up to him to decide to want to do that. We're not talking about a massive building, so oftentimes, especially signs and other small structures, people are willing to take that risk. I don't endorse or, caution against doing it. It's wholly your own decision. So if you're raising the concern that he might be subject to APDC, he could have a building permit prior to then, or an application prior to then.
It seems pretty clear that if we approve this today and he gets a building permit tomorrow,
Correct.
and so long as he does it before Friday, that he'll be fine.
What's the window of time someone has to say they're contesting it?
It's 20 days from the day following our
Decision.
recording of the decision with the town clerk.
Okay.
So if the board were to make a decision tonight, we'd be looking to have them sign a decision sometime next week. And so then it would be 20 days from that period. So it'd be into December, mid-December
Yeah.
sometime.
Should you decide tonight, what's the earliest time the sign installer can come for the permit? Is that?
Theoretically, they could come tomorrow and file the permit.
So I guess probably if I wanted to be super safe, I could tell, add a sign, when I know that you have approved this, I say you can get the sign. Then to wait a window of a few weeks.
Correct.
Yes, pull the permit and wait.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's your material for this? Vinyl or wood?
I think you can take a look at the specs on there. I don't have it in front of me.
PVC.
Yeah.
PVC.
He's going to have to sink holes in there because you got a wind load you've got to watch out for.
I thought I saw that.
I know the lettering typically now is vinyl, but you can't tell that it's vinyl because you really can't cut wood the way you used to. It's made to look like wood. We're not trying to make it look like
Yeah.
metal. And we won't even bother illuminating it because I think you're in the center of town there already, and the failure rate on lights casting up there is pretty high, so we're okay with it as it is.
Yeah, the APDC, my understanding is that we can approve the special permit, but that would be an additional process for you. It would have nothing to do, my understanding, with us. That it's just, you'd have to, once you get, based on their workflow, that you'd, at some point in the process, you need to talk to them.
It actually looks as though the market property is the only one that would qualify. The remaining buildings are from the late 60s and early 70s into the bank and post office, which appear to be the 90s.
Okay. Now, the part of land that this is going to go on,
Is in front of the 70 era building.
okay. So he may be in the clear, is what you're saying, that this may
that
not be
would-
an APD review?
That would be my inference, and I also would say that the building inspector has had the opportunity to review this, and he initially raised the caution about the roof permit for the APDC and did not raise any caution about this in regard to the APDC. Again, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth or say that anybody is saying that, there isn't a necessity, but all the information adds up to me that this is not something that qualifies under APDC.
It sounds like he did his diligence.
Correct.
That's good.
It helps everyone.
Yeah.
It
I mean,
helps
it would be,
everyone.
kind of unfortunate to have to go in front of, 2 or 3 boards to put up a sign.
Through the chair, do we need to review the request for waivers, or can we just,
Well, we've got a checklist, that's a benefit. So everything in the first block that was not included is a right of access form, not quite sure what that is.
That gives the board the rights to access property,
Inspect.
to review or inspect.
And we can just drive by and, or walk along the sidewalk, and it's not a big deal.
You don't
And
need a
then-
key.
And the certificate of ownership, not
That-
included?
Correct,
Okay. And it shows up on the assessors?
correct.
Okay. Not included, 40 scale plans, we oftentimes don't need that. And what
Again,
is-
and he did include a letter requesting waivers from a variety of different provisions.
Okay.
It's actually just after the record card.
Yep.
This seems pretty straightforward. Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the waivers that are requested.
second?
All right, any discussion? They all look, it's not lit, so I don't see that they're, I agree. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
All right,
Aye. All right, your waivers are granted.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the special permit for the sign.
Close the public hearing.
Oh,
Okay. So,
Jumping
this is a
again.
public hearing. Is there any public comment
from the public?
from the public? Seeing none, I think that we can close the hearing. Or I'd like a,
Move we, you need a motion?
Was the previous motion withdrawn?
No. So I need to make it again?
No, you need to withdraw your
Oh,
motion
I
to
withdraw
approve.
the previous motion.
Move we close the public hearing?
Second?
okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Now you can move.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the special permit.
Second? Oh, sorry.
Any discussion?
Any conditions or other requirements attached?
Wouldn't that be after we approve it?
No, it'd be a condition, it'd be part of the motion because you'd approve it with the conditions as part of discussion.
We'll just amend the
It's
normal
not-
construction conditions,
Yeah.
It's not,
the time.
I mean, I understand we're not talking about
Yeah,
I would-
we're not-
a massive issue, I
we're not
just,
building a big building.
I would just
here,
suggest
put
that
a
it-
for
sign.
plans, it's not lit,
Oh, well-
so,
yeah.
in accordance with the information provided?
Yeah.
Sound good? Can you
great.
amend?
That would be up to,
Do we need an amendment for that motion?
Sure. I'll amend the motion to include the plans as presented.
amend my second.
So I have a question. As part of provisioning for the approval, can we put a timeline on the duration of construction?
sure.
Yes.
So like, say the construction from start to finish has to be completed within 30 days or something like that? The only reason I'm bringing that up is because the patio was under construction for almost a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like,
Yes, I
I'd like
I
it
think
to
that-
not be a construction site there for a year.
Yes, I think from, you couldn't say it needs to
From
be
the
constructed
groundbreaking?
within 30 days. You could say that from the commencement of construction
Yeah,
and
so from ground-
groundbreaking.
from groundbreak
yes,
to completion
Project shall be completed
30
within
days?
30 days. Yeah, I
Okay,
think that's-
would you mind amending your motion?
I
to
don't
have
mind at
that?
all. With the amendment that from the time construction begins to the time construction is complete, that a period of no more than 30 days elapses.
Second the amendment,
Yeah.
Amend your
I amend my second.
Is that,
My
well,
head straight.
I'm confident that that's, this should be
Yeah, I mean, it's
about 2
totally
days.
achievable with the sign.
Yeah.
Discussion. Okay.
I think we're all good.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Permit
Thank
is
you.
granted.
And thanks for all your help to get this.
You're very welcome.
Construct tomorrow at your own peril, or wait for deliberation.
He's if he pulls a permit and doesn't construct, it's not, the only peril is him having paid his permit fee.
Well, the permit is with, oh.
So once he has a
Start-
building
start of
permit,
construction to end of construction.
correct, it's
That's
30
okay.
days.
Yeah. There's no bearing on the.
So he
permit.
has 6 months to act on the permit, he has 2 years to act on the special permit. So within that time frame,
He has 30 days in which to
which is
rectify.
probably about 10 times the amount of days he needs to put a sign up.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next agenda item is minutes approval. We've all been scanned,
Yep.
No comments.
11/13/17.
I just want to make a comment. Thank you. I note that Marjorie has added her name to the minutes. So thank you for that, Marjorie.
Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for noticing. So 11/13/17 are good, 11/13/17, 234 Summer Street.
Good.
Nope. 11/13/17, 5 and 9 Electric Avenue.
No comments.
No comments. And 11/13/17, STN, special town meeting warrant article.
All set.
Technically, I only read up to the beginning of the actual text of the warrant article.
Oh. Smart man.
So if there was a typo in the warrant article, I didn't catch it.
Excellent. Committee reports. In the absence of the chair, we don't have capital planning, school building committee, or green community task force. Stormwater task force has not met. The agricultural commission, they met, and I have notes. Basically, there was a end-of-season discussion. The market went great this year. There's continued support for the market and its growth. They were very happy to have a discussion about the economic development meetings the town has been having, is having a lot of discussion about farming and agriculture. I mentioned my wife and myself, recent Farming Beyond Borders is a regional group trying to promote local agriculture. We had discussions about warrant articles for the upcoming years, the annual town meeting. And the Municipal Agricultural Associations Commission is looking for a site for 150-plus people in February of 2018. And I discussed that with the AgCom, Agricultural Commission members, and everybody was in favor of looking into the possibility of hosting that here in Lunenburg. So that is, looking into it is underway. And that was the majority of that meeting. Yeah, the majority of that meeting.
And that would be what, sort of an extended farmer's market? Or?
No, it's just
Fair?
the Mass Agricultural Associations Committee.
Oh, just one, like having a meeting here?
An annual meeting.
Oh,
right,
okay.
For
Yeah.
150 people, and it
Gotcha.
was for a few hours, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And incidentally, the group Farming Beyond Borders, the regional agricultural group, is 3 of the members of that group are board members of the MAAC. And the MAAC is where the Lunenburg Agricultural Commission got the $450 grant 2 years ago to put up the right to farm signs.
Signs, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So
Cool.
it's a good group to
Great.
get to. The MJTC,
Next meeting is in December.
Same with MRPC.
okay,
And open space there's been no communication about anything upcoming, so.
all right, Mr. Jeffries.
Charter review, we're going through the articles. Our last meeting, we went through Articles 1 and 2. And this Wednesday, we have another meeting. We're going to do a little bit finer comb through Articles 1 and 2. And we're also highlighting Articles 3 and 4, which covers, 3 and 4 cover, I think 4 covers town manager, and 3 is some of the think that's the beginning of the boards.
Excellent. Excellent. So, under,
Whoop, I'm sorry. Do you accept public input?
Absolutely.
At the chart, yeah?
At all of our meetings, we have public comments at both the beginning and end
Okay.
of the meetings. It's a very open process. Generally, we were looking to do most of these here in Town Hall, but there's a conflict schedule-wise with several other. I think Zoning Board of Appeals is one week, and I think the other week it's something else. So we're permanently looking to do this in the Ritter building going forward. And our expectation is that as we get closer to a work product, that we will look to do that more in here, in Town Hall.
super. So the next item is director's items, 221 Goodrich Street, common driveway follow-up.
So this is a follow-up to our last meeting with the location of the common driveway on Goodrich Street. In speaking with the building inspector, I think that there were several things brought up. One was the grades of the driveway, and I was mistaken. I thought that he had also been given a copy of the grades, because when the I won't even say the applicant, because it was the builder, originally approached about the common driveway, he and I met with the builder together, and he was told that everyone would need to see the grades. So when the engineer filed with us, he went upstairs. I inferred that he was bringing a copy of same to the building inspector, and that's not what happened. But the building inspector has told them that they will need to file a Section 7 special permit with the zoning board, but that this board's determination is wholly the location of the driveway, not the grade portion of the driveway. So if the board is in agreement with the location of the driveway, that they're okay with it, which, if I recall correctly, the discussion was the board didn't have an issue with the location of the driveway. He said you can make the determination, and if the special permit isn't granted, then they have to figure out how they plan to address that. And it wouldn't grant them the right to use the common driveway, but it would continue to have the appropriate location. So they could do a number of things. They could reduce the grade in some way, either by removing material or building up some of the less grade, the less steep parts, and they can figure that out. But he said that the two are not linked, but that he identified that as an issue as well.
So can I simply reiterate my motion to approve the location of the
Yes.
driveway?
If that's what you wish to do.
Do we need to have any discussion on it, or can I just throw that motion back out?
I don't see why you couldn't just throw that
All
motion.
right, I'd
out.
like to reiterate my motion to approve the driveway location as was documented at the previous meeting.
Second?
Discussion.
Yes. This needs 4 votes, right? All of us to vote for
I don't
this special
think
permit?
No, it's not a special permit.
this is not
The
yet.
Section 7 special permit would come from the zoning board.
Got it.
That's the expansion, alteration, increase of a non-conforming, I think it's use, because the driveway doesn't count as a structure.
As a matter,
Just an endorsement of the layout.
It's just an endorsement of the physical location of the
Physical
driveway
location.
entrance.
Which we all agreed at the last meeting.
Yeah.
It's fine. The concern raised was about the
The grade.
grade.
Yeah.
and process-wise, I mean, and this is for my own knowledge probably, when something has to go before the ZBA, is it advisable for us to make decisions prior to the ZBA process or after the ZBA process? What's been the historical trend?
I don't know the historical trend, but
Well, I think from, and I don't know if you want to answer first, David, from my perspective, it depends on what it is. So if a use, let's say, someone wanted to do a veterinary clinic, because this is one we've had recently, which would require site plan approval, and the zoning board is the issuing authority or the special permit granting authority on the use of veterinary clinic, and you also receive a parallel application for the site plan approval, I would recommend that you don't schedule the hearing until after the zoning board has met and adjudicated their hearing, because if they deny the use, you waste your time, the applicant's money, because you'll send it to peer review. on that item. With something like this, your endorsement of the location, I don't think has an effect on whether or not the zoning board will look at the existing non-conforming use and make a determination that it is, that the expansion or increase of it is not detrimental to the neighborhood, because that driveway location is going to continue to exist regardless of whether or not 2 homes are serviced by it or 1. And if they feel that it's not safe or appropriate or otherwise for there to be twice the traffic, twice the oil trucks, twice the UPS trucks, whatever, going up that driveway, it won't matter whether or not you have said, oh, the lot line needs to split it or not. The driveway is not changing. They're saying this particular situation becomes hazardous in a variety of different ways, and you need to find an alternative to do it, or you need to correct the failure to meet the bylaw. Usually, the zoning board serves, I guess I'll say, 3 roles. They serve to be the appellate body for zoning decisions, whether it's for the building inspector's decisions on zoning, whether someone doesn't like the way he's interpreted the bylaw, or feels that he is taking inappropriate enforcement action or not taking enforcement action. They serve as special permit granting authority in many realms, and they serve as the grantor of variances. So this falls into the special permit granting authority role, and where they are looking at the non-conforming use, and it's a non-conforming use that's not altering the physical area, and what you're approving isn't approving any change or construction, it's just approving a theoretical or a conceptual location. It's...
I think you've answered my question.
Okay.
But to be clear, the building inspector did advise them that this has to go before the ZBA for that.
That is my understanding of what he has told them.
Okay, I don't have any other discussion on this.
So basically, if the ZBA doesn't allow that, then they will have to build a separate driveway for the second residence. They can keep the first one, because it's
Correct.
the shared, right?
Yeah.
And I guess in theory, they could alter this driveway
Up until it, right, there you go.
to get it to, or alter this driveway in some way that would get it to 12%.
Whatever, right,
Yeah.
whatever they use.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cheaper anyway, so.
So was there any further discussion?
No.
Okay. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Excellent.
There is an item on here for 994 Northfield. I think this was placed as a, if we need it. The decision's been endorsed and recorded. I would encourage the board to skip over
Yes.
the other portion of that, as it would be in everybody's best interest to reserve that for an executive session based on the current situation.
And I agree.
I agree.
All right, so we'll move on to 5 and 9 Electric Avenue, Asian Imperial.
Correct. This is the deliberations of the public hearing that was closed for site plan approval at the last meeting. The board was pleased with the plan, felt that they had the information they needed to make a decision. They wanted to review the previous decision and specifically the findings to determine whether there are any that they wish to carry over, modify, or if they just wish to place new conditions on the proposed plan and endorse the decision or make a decision from there.
So as I recall, the majority of the concerns were from the absent member? And I have not gotten any correspondence with him as to setting decisions or findings. How does everybody else feel about that?
Neither have I. I think that, looking at some of the terms here for the previous decision, I think that we should move forward with the understanding that they will apply to this situation as well.
There were some that I thought we wanted to strike from the previous.
Snow removal was one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
There were several that were just above and beyond what they
So the
needed to be.
previous was the 2011?
Correct.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to find where that list is here.
If I,
Is it in here?
there should be a copy of this in there, Ken.
Yeah, the first 2 pages.
Here. I have an extra.
What? It's here.
I'll rephrase that. I was looking at the summary report,
Separate file.
those
Oh.
conditions, not the first 15.
Okay, so that summary report is this?
Yes.
So that was construction and monitoring procedures that,
No, I'm sorry. The page before that. At the end of the first
Oh, okay.
items 1 through 15, and there's that 1, 2, 3, 4.
okay, so
I support
that,
the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, that is actually the qualifications for granting of a special permit.
Yeah.
So it's good you support them.
So I don't know that those necessarily are, I mean, you can attach them as conditions, but, one would infer that those are, by granting the permit, that what they're proposing isn't going to do those things.
Those are our findings, right?
What?
We find that one.
Well,
two,
that,
three,
yeah, and I would say that of the 15 previous to that, 1 through 13 were specific to the project previously approved, with the exception of the snow removal, having to truck a number 6, which is the applicant shall have snow plowed and removed to an approved location off-site. But I would say at least 1 through 13 don't apply to the current project in front of the board, as they are specific to the existing operating, constructed, approved site.
I'll question number 2, the DOT curb cut. So they've got an existing curb cut from the previous home that they've demolished?
Okay.
Oh, they're not
They're
proposing
closing
it?
it off.
They're
Okay,
not
you're
cutting any
right, you're right.
curbs.
So they don't have that. I'm sorry.
And I don't think that the expansion of the parking lot qualifies as a secondary access permit because they're not increasing the intensity.
No.
They're probably actually making the curb cut safer.
I was mistaken. You're right. You're right.
So, Mr. Chennis, what conditions did you have in mind?
So, yeah, most of them I thought were not necessarily, like 2 could go away, 3 could go away. I thought we might want to keep 4 because we did say he had to go back to conservation for the parking extension.
Oh, if that was for phase
That seems
2.
specific to a date. I mean, you could say that they need to.
Oh, yeah, does have a specific date on it, so we just,
I would say abide by all local, state, federal ordinances
we're fine.
and by
Okay,
any
so
and all
then-
approvals
so
issued
then
by
4
town
doesn't need to be
bodies.
there either. I thought we might want to keep 7 because there was
Yes.
concern about the painting on the parking lot having
Okay.
been eradicated over wear and weather, so 7 I thought we would leave.
And
We also wanted to add that restriping of the parking lot was necessary with, particularly around the handicap signs, because they, phase 1 and 2 did not call for relaying out parking because they weren't adding onto the building.
correct.
But we do want to get the,
And you can also add a new condition that says the parking shall be striped per the approved plan,
Right,
newly
okay.
painted at the completion of paving or something to
phase
that
2.
effect.
Yeah, so I would want that.
Can I
striping.
pause there and go back to number 7 with you?
Yep.
So it says the applicant shall, per the fire chief, erect a sign stating no parking fire lane along the front of the restaurant.
Yeah, now there's parking along the front. of the
Correct, and
restaurant.
my understanding is that there was a mistake made at some point, and the front of the restaurant was originally supposed to face south.
Correct.
So it may be worth it to add a new condition that says fire lanes shall be installed per
Per the
the
fire.
requirement of the fire chief, just so that if he, A, doesn't feel that they're necessary, they're not struggling to put it in, and B, we're not requiring them to put them somewhere that is in conflict with what the fire chief says, and then they can just go and speak to him when they do their striping and ensure that whoever comes and paints the lines puts them where Chief Sullivan would like them.
Now, I don't,
So it sounds like Mr. Chinnis is going to make this motion.
looks like he's writing it all
I'm trying
down.
to write it down. Okay, was there anything, so 8, 9, 10, 11 goes away. Do we care about progress notifications?
That was
No.
construction of the
We
building.
don't need that, right?
Probably don't need monitoring. Pavement inspection? I mean,
My predecessor felt that the town should be monitoring and ensuring that the work being done met municipal standards.
Yeah, so 14 and 15 are pretty much stay. right?
Yeah, that would be, I feel as though
the 13,
outside of the stormwater
13
management
stays?
systems,
that's what we're talking about.
That's monitoring.
if someone wants to pave their parking lot at 2 inches instead of 3 inches, that causes them a greater, people don't submit pavement thickness details when they submit plans in
Sure they do. It's right here.
site plans?
Cape Cod berm detail.
The
vertical
Cape Cod
curve,
berm details.
Siltation pavement detail, right there. They show the depth of pavement. And then they finish course, base course, and sub-base.
I mean, we can do pavement inspections on private property. It increases the cost for the applicant because our review engineer does it at their cost. I feel on private property projects that won't be taken over by the municipality, it's not necessary. On subdivision projects where someone's paving a road that will ultimately become a public road, I think it's absolutely critical because ultimately tax dollars will be repairing that. Generally, in my experience, business owners who are investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in parking lot projects want to ensure that it's done to their specifications. And, again, in my experience, pavement contractors that are maybe less than reputable at times may actually pour thicker because they get paid by the ton. It's something that the applicant will often monitor on their own. Again, I have been looking to require stormwater management reviews at that installation because that's something that ultimately can affect the town in a very measurable way. So ensuring that catch basins and I thought you were pointing to a note. Catch basins and detention basins or retention systems are installed properly is something of interest to the town, and I think while it may increase the cost slightly for the applicant, I think it's a worthwhile increase for the protection of the town and the residents.
So is our consensus then to get rid of 13? Or do we want to keep 13?
Well, that conversation brought me up to a new question about an as-built, which is
We do
something
require
similar.
as-bills.
Okay, so do we require as-built of the drainage system?
We require
Making sure that
inverts
it's
and elevations.
Okay.
Yeah.
top of stone, bottom of
It
stone.
should have that in there.
Because
yes.
the drainage
That's
calculations,
usually not a condition, though, do we? I mean, isn't that?
it's per the
standard?
plans,
It's,
basically.
yeah, it's per the plans.
But I'm just wondering if there's going to actually be somebody out there during construction that's making sure that, yes, that elevation was achieved, and yes, there is that depth of stone.
Yes.
Okay.
to date, we have told applicants that they need to contact us and have
Okay.
Jeff go out and do inspections when they're laying
Right.
materials, that, especially underground stuff. I know he went out and did the storage center on Electric Ave, and made sure that their underground systems were proper. He,
Is that part
So
of our
then should we
standard
keep 13 in
So
there?
it sounds like 13 would stay then.
Right. Is that part of our standard Lunenburg Planning Board monitoring and construction procedures attached?
As utility placement and testing, water, sewage, drainage, and so forth, those are all the required inspections.
I mean,
It's
maybe
part of
it's
the
smart to
monitoring.
just leave it in there
Yeah, that's all that
to
extra
cover
stuff.
those procedures.
Cool.
Yeah, okay.
required
is there anything
inspections,
else you wanna add?
well,
Yes, dark sky compliant lighting, is that going to be required of this project?
it is
think
required.
it is
I mean,
already.
it's in the bylaw,
proposal.
you can condition it just to be redundant and
I-
make sure
I
that
would
it's
like to just
abundantly
re-
clear.
Reiterate that, yes, and the large spotlight
They give it-
that shines on the neighbor's house, that's gotta go.
Right, they gave us a lighting plan with photometrics.
Okay.
It wasn't super, but it
Yeah.
gave,
So the removal of that light, are
Yeah.
you saying by project completion it needs to be gone?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say by project completion.
So how do you want to word that? So we get it into the motion. What is that light called?
Removal of the.
Spotlight at south side of
spotlight at
building
se-
shall be removed
Yeah,
upon completion of,
by completion
like,
of
yeah,
construction.
no later than the completion
Yeah.
of phase 2.
now, because there's subsurface retention, I believe, or detention, is draining into one catch basin, draining into another catch basin.
It's manhole to catch basin to catch basin.
No, there was no manhole. They were,
It came, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
I think it was.
It came from the chamber to a manhole, down the hill to a catch basin, and then to another catch basin. So currently, this may be going catch basin to catch basin to catch basin. Well, you know what?
I called him on it. I looked at it and I said, oh, no, it goes from one to another.
Here. So, comes inspection port, manhole, catch basin, catch basin.
Right, so they're discharging off of their property to
Well, this
existing.
is, this is still on their property,
Right,
to the manhole.
right.
And then the overflow goes to the catch basin, which they're already connected to from the lower lot. This is all DOT system.
Okay. But it's just the principle, the idea of the thing. They've got 2-foot diameter pipes that are, 50 feet long, I think.
I believe so.
Tons of water, and the catch basin's got a 4-foot sump to hold sediment. So when you've got water pouring in there at a large storm, it's gonna be all stirring it up and passing it all through. And if it goes from one and then goes to the other, then it's carrying silt that shouldn't be carried at that velocity and that volume into the downstream drainage system. And I'm just wondering if some kind of a monitoring process can be conditioned.
Didn't we
Not-
already cover that though in the in
Yeah,
the
I thought
stormwater
that we
management?
covered that with Jeff, and he said he
Yeah.
didn't call it out, and
I seem to remember this exact subject being brought up last time, but I can't remember what his reasoning was, unfortunately.
It's not convenient for this existing stuff to,
Is that what it was? It wasn't convenient. Well, I can't recall, so, but should we ask Jeff about that?
well, you can't.
no, we can't.
You've closed the hearing.
That's
You
right, we
can't
closed
take
the
any
hearing.
more information.
That's right. Geez, I wish I could remember what he said.
I thought he said it wasn't ideal, but it's the existing situation, and it didn't violate the
Yeah, he
state
he
stormwater
didn't
management
He didn't
standards.
violate
He said he
it.
felt that
Didn't
they
violate,
were
right.
in compliance
Yeah.
to the best
But
of their
you
ability.
could, I mean, you could, what do we have in there right now for stormwater, for siltation, for removing the silt?
It's just the 4-foot sump.
I think Matthew's concern is not that the silt would be coming from their system, excuse me, but the catch basin at the entrance on Electric Ave
Mm-hmm.
is taking in water,
Mhm.
road sand,
Mhm.
whatever other debris, and has a 4-foot bucket at the bottom. And as the water pours in, anything that has settled there is going to be stirred up. And if it's coming in at mass volumes, it's going to enter the state system.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, it's already in the state system.
Correct, and
Oh.
he's saying that it's not going to,
It's just
going to
gonna
enter the
push it
pipes.
further down
Yeah.
instead of being available to be cleaned
Is that
on
not?
an annual basis.
Yeah. So
It's-
you
it's
wanted
not-
to catch it and,
I just wanted to have it monitored.
okay, well, isn't that
I think we're
DOT?
required to, oh, that is?
Correct.
Electric Ave, is that state or
It's
is?
within the intersection
Within the intersection.
allowance of DOT.
All right,
That's beyond our,
all right.
unless you treated it earlier, but we said you didn't have to.
Because I also think that if they had chosen to close their curb cut and use the existing house, that house's curb cut would still be within DOT's jurisdiction.
I think so.
And I think that's why they didn't want to do that,
Okay.
because they felt it would take too long.
Standard construction hours? Anything else you guys want to add?
Do we
No.
have, again,
motion?
I don't think we have standard construction hours, do we?
We left the snow in, is that right?
Yes.
I thought you were taking the snow
No,
out.
the snow out.
Took the snow out. Oh, right,
Now
because they
they
added
have-
snow.
yeah,
They
so-
showed snow room.
10 construction hours, we're talking 7 to 4 Monday through Friday, 8 to 12 on Saturday, no Sundays, no holidays. Is that what you mean by standard?
8 to when?
7 to 4 Monday through Friday,
On Saturday, though?
8 to 12?
8 to 12 Saturday?
Is that, I'm asking, is that what you mean by standard?
I don't know, I thought we would I thought we should establish a standard. We reiterate it. every
Well, we
year.
do, and
We
I-
don't have one, so
We don't.
we have to repeat it every time.
I would urge that, that we would not allow Saturday construction until January.
Well, I don't think that they'll be doing any construction until April.
Yeah. But just as I mean, I think that, this is a high traffic time of year. This is, this month, or what we're about to go, December.
Yeah.
So I would just, I mean, I'm sure they're not going to do this until next
I
year.
was going to say, I think asphalt
too
plants
late.
are closing right now anyway.
Yeah, closed like a month ago.
Well, it's still been warm, so they're not quite closed yet.
Do we think that
Everybody's
that's
trying to get all the
necessary?
paving in that they can.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's something to, if we're gonna put a standard together, that's certainly something that should go into the standard.
Yeah.
But this is also commercially zoned, not residential,
Mhm.
so it's in a different zone.
Yeah, but I think his point is well taken, that it's the major intersection in town. You know what I mean? There's tons of traffic, New Hampshire, traffic flows right through there.
So construction not to proceed until 2018, can we do that?
I don't think you can.
I'd be okay with construction during the weekdays, but I think Saturdays is just going to be crazy. If there's if somehow they decide that they want to do this in December, which, I don't know many reputable companies that would do that. But if they do decide that that's what they want to do, to put the restriction on it that it can't be on Saturdays.
My recollection was that the applicant stated that they were not intending to begin construction until the spring.
Correct. That's what I believe as well.
Well, I mean, you could say something like construction hours Monday through Friday, 7 to 4, after January 1st,
Saturdays.
2018, Saturday, 8 to 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds fair.
Sounds like a long motion.
It's
Anything else?
massive.
Did you included the other boards, commissions, abide by any other approvals of other town boards and commissions?
Yep.
I don't know why, but I feel like something about bunnies and kittens should be in there.
Bunnies are delicious.
Landscaping, planters,
Maybe-
plastic fences.
Yeah.
The kitchen sink.
Anything else? Anything else? See if I can get through this motion?
No, that's it.
All right. All right, so I'd like to move that we approve the 5 and 9 Electric Avenue Asian Imperial plan and supersede the previous plans conditions, removing conditions 1 through 12 and leaving conditions 13, 14, and 15, and adding the following additional conditions. The applicant must abide by approvals by other town boards and commissions. The applicant must add striping of all lots, including handicap spots, and add handicap signage to existing lot. Applicant must add fire lanes to be installed and striped as required by the fire chief. The spotlight at the south side of the building will be removed no later than the completion of Phase 2, and all new lighting will be dark sky compliant. Construction hours will be between 7 to 4 Monday through Friday, and after January 1st, they can also include 8 to 12 on Saturdays. There'll be no construction on Sundays
Or holidays.
or holidays.
Second.
Any discussion?
Did I get everything?
That's everything. I think it was a nice job, as
Get it?
usual, with
Yeah, he nailed it.
the massive motions.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Excellent.
We can finally legally park at Asian Imperial. Soon.
They still
All right.
won't.
And it will no longer be the topic of discussion.
It'll still be the topic of discussion.
We can still talk.
He was we always say, remember when, before the parking lot was in?
So the next item is the definitions and use.
Yeah, you guys want to do this?
I say we kick off early for
I
once.
said we have a workshop. I'm down for a workshop.
Well, we're going to be up hopefully all hours of the night tomorrow night at town meeting.
Probably.
Skip it.
Not suggesting that we do. I am simply adding that additional information.
Well, how about I give you a quick and dirty on it? Because as I said in my email, there's 6 things that I think we should cover tonight. 6 overlay districts. The first one is the Water Supply Protection District. And that starts on page 19. I don't think we should change anything in it. That's just saying, that just outlines, so we have 3 zones in town. Zone 1 is 500 feet around the public water supply wells. Zone 2 is an area around that. Zone 3 is a little bit wider around that. Essentially, they run up the gut of the town, Lancaster Ave, that general area. This overlay district essentially limits the uses that you can have on property within that area to ensure that the public drinking water supply is not fouled by whatever land use is installed there. Those areas are primarily residential and agricultural, which are primarily the uses allowed. The general prohibitions are things like storage of road salt, storage of petroleum, the kind of stuff you're generally not doing in residential areas anyway. So I don't think that bylaw necessarily needs to be changed. If you wanted to dial it in more or make recommendations, we certainly could do some things that might add some teeth to it, but it has a fair amount of teeth already. You could be a little bit more liberal with some of the uses that you allow in those areas through special permit. I think that in general in this town, that's not something that people are looking to do anyway, especially based on our look at the use table. I see pink all over Ken's, so I feel like he has some thoughts and comments.
Yeah, I already sent these to you if I recall correctly, but I had a couple of minor concerns with the water district. The first one was 2C. We talk about this written request to have a professional geologist and soil certified site and so on and so forth, and he said it'd be at the owner's expense. And the only thing I was questioning is, what if it proves that the owner is correct and that the land was not correctly earmarked? Wouldn't that be at the town's expense then, and not the owner's expense to fix a problem? So isn't this like, if you challenge it and you're wrong, you pay for it? If you challenge it and you're right, we're sorry, we'll pay for it?
I think it would have to be written that way.
That's what my concern was with the way it was written. I just go through them.
Sure.
The other one, which exists throughout this, is I don't know what the heck a duck walk is. I just know a duck walk is the Chuck Berry walk, but I don't know, other than the Chuck Berry walk, what is a duck walk?
I think it's like a raised platform over like a wetland or other area, like a boardwalk.
So it's a boardwalk.
But I think duck walk is a colloquial.
It's
I
not-
couldn't find a definition for it in like land use stuff, so the only references I could find to duck walk literally were Chuck Berry. So maybe we say a raised wooden walkway or raised walkway or something
Uh-huh.
instead of ductwork, and then people like me won't question it. I had a question on 3.5, where it says farming, gardening, nursery, conservation, forestry, blah, blah, blah.
Thank you.
Within enclosed structures that will not permit groundwater contamination, right? So my question was, what about a watershed? What if the farming facility is using pesticides that feed a watershed to a water supply district? Wouldn't that constitute a water supply contamination? Because downstream and watersheds can be significantly impacted by what happens in farming territory. I know,
It
like,
would form a nexus.
like Lake Shirley is dramatically impacted by the farming that goes on, that gets into the streams.
Yes.
And all that nitrogen goes flowing right into Lake Shirley, which causes a lot of issues with the lake. So I would think
Okay,
if you
so-
were using pesticides and you were feeding a watershed that fed our wells, like Hickory Hills, for example, I would be concerned about the pesticides and herbicides getting into that watershed.
So you're saying it would not permit groundwater contamination?
Yeah.
So you're saying overland flow?
Yeah, into a watershed. So I just think we have to be sensitive about the watershed uses. Because that water runs off and it carries that stuff with it.
Uh-huh.
And that
So,
could feed into a water supply. Do we assume that the lake filters enough of that out that we don't have to worry about it? Or the watersheds?
no, the water supply protection districts in general are groundwater protection.
Drinking water.
Right,
Yeah.
but the ground, like the
I
groundwater
understand
for
what
the
you-
Hickory
yes.
Hills, all comes from the Hickory Hills Lake, and that
Yes.
gets that runoff. So if I put a big, huge, there's
I'm-
no big farm upstream up that, but if I did, let's say I took the Lane property,
Uh-huh.
and I put a big farm in there, and I was growing crops and putting pesticides and everything, my watershed would be into Hickory Hills. And
So
that
the-
means all that pesticide would be flowing into a watershed that feeds our public water supply.
The water supply protection district is designated by the wellheads. So the wellhead creates the zone 1, and then the area around that from the zone 2 is designated by as you pointed out in the other in 2C, the geologist finding where the aquifer is, and then the zone 3 is further determined by what feeds that underground aquifer.
I think
So-
the Zone 3 is watershed.
So Zone 3 is the watershed area for
I
that?
think so.
For the wellheads. So the pink is the zone 1, the green is the zone 2, and then the zone 3 is the watershed that
there's-
feeds the
there's-
aquifer.
There's no concern with the Hickory Hills area then?
It's not included
I
because that
thought
well
that
is
was-
offline.
No, Lunenburg's,
Oh, because it's currently offline?
Correct.
Yeah.
Lunenburg's acquired a new well down in the Keatings area for that Reservoir Road
Correct,
extension.
but they would have to, they
Which
then
is a
have
bit
to go
It's
and,
not up there yet, okay.
well, they'd have to take the geologist and they'd have to redo their aquifer map. And then amend the bylaw to
Right.
mirror the new mapping.
Right, but I'm just, as far as existing,
Correct.
we got 5 now.
So I understand what you're saying, and it makes sense practically from a non-zoning point of view. And if that's something that you want to explore putting in here, we can do that, but then we're also looking at a different type of mapping and maybe a different protection level. This is based wholly on the zones 1, 2, and 3 per the DEP wellhead protection zones.
Okay. Can we say then, maybe we can make a simple change to this? If we just said are stored within an enclosed structure and used in a manner that will not permit groundwater contamination. that would probably cover my concern.
Okay.
Does that sound logical?
Yes.
Say it again.
Just, instead of just saying that you have to store them in an enclosed structure, I say they have to be enclosed in an enclosed structure and used in a manner that will not permit groundwater contamination.
So you can't store it in a shed that has a nice basin with a non-permeable membrane installed in it and then take out 500 gallons and just pour it on the field and be like, that's good.
Right next to the running
Yes,
stream
yeah.
that feeds directly into the, so if we fix that in
There goes my Saturday.
if we fix that in 3.
I think it would just be a universal, search and,
B5,
yep.
yeah. And C5, that covers that concern I
Okay.
had. I think redisposition was spelled wrong in section 11, C11. Redisposition of pesticides.
Not redeposition.
Deposition.
Not redeposition.
So, I've got another question related to the new well. Industrial uses which discharge process water, including any commercial or service uses discharging wastewater. Keating's does a lot of processing with water, and they are going to be most likely within the zone 2, if not 1, of that well that we just acquired. So when the rezoning, when the map is updated,
Generally, it's the water district who enlists the geologist to do the work.
okay,
And
but we regulate it.
Correct.
So I'm just looking forward.
Correct. And I guess what
Mr.
I was
Allison,
just
where are you looking right now?
I'm sorry?
Where are you looking right now?
What page are you on?
Oh, I'm referring to the new well.
No, he wants to know where in the bylaw you are.
Uses, 41935. Uses prohibited in the water
He
supply
was looking for
protection
it
district.
in this
Oh, you mean this?
No, he's in the
blue.
Okay.
the actual bylaws.
I wasn't following the program. I apologize.
What page do you want to get in there?
He's on page 24. Uses prohibited in the water supply district.
Yeah, all the pages. are
Yeah, I mean in the bylaw.
Which copy?
Which section were you in?
If you look at page 24 of what you have tonight, it's
Which section is Matthew in the bylaw? You're
I
not
was,
getting
I
away
was,
with it.
I was in 4935.
4935.
So
Oh,
sorry.
you're using the old numbers. Oh,
Yeah.
so if
Oh,
if you look
250, 4935.
I see.
oh right.
I'm sorry.
We all on the same page now?
So page 24.
No, I was just
Got
following
page
up on what you're-
24 D3, industrial uses which discharge process
Right.
water, including any commercial or service use discharging wastewater, is what he's talking about. And he's saying that Keating does a lot of work like this, and the well is now in proximity to their property. So what I was saying is, it would be up to the water district to propose a modification to this map, because it's their wellhead, and they would be the one paying for the geologist to draw the map. And I would infer that at some point, they would have had a conversation with Keating, and any alteration, there would probably be some conversation about how that gets managed in the future. Whether it's doing something with the bylaw that changes that, or working with Keating to do that work outside of the aquifer, I don't know. But it could be a conflict in the future.
It's going to be it's going to be entirely separate from those wellheads.
Correct.
It's going to be an entirely another large blot of property,
It's going to eat up most of the industrial land.
pretty much. But as it exists today, it is still currently hooked up to the town public water supply.
Where
Right.
is the well exactly?
Down in here.
So you're saying that we shouldn't create anything that
No, I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything. I'm just
Saying that there could be a conflict.
adding
Conflict
additional
by having
information.
that well down there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the bylaw's gotta be correct, so, it's definitely something the water, is it a water district? What is that?
Yeah, it's the water district.
We have to take into consideration the existing tenants of the land.
Okay, I will stop sidetracking us and I will start following the program. What page are you on?
Well, I have a different paging system than this, but the new page system is 24. My old page system is 21. But D4 has a small typo in it. Increased should be increase. So you gotta
Storage of petroleum.
strike the D on D4.
Are you still on page 24?
He's got Lucky Charms for his numbering system.
D4, yeah.
Hearts
see-
and moons and stars.
see D4,
Yep.
it says there is no
Storage of
increased
petroleum?
in capacity. Should be there is no increase in capacity.
Yeah.
4?
Yeah, D4.
Storage,
Oh, D4, I'm sorry.
storage of petroleum.
Yes.
Storage of petroleum. It's just a typo.
Yeah.
That one was a nit. So those were all of my inputs.
And my only comment, Adam, is page 1. I know we're not talking about this, but the small flock. I know I brought this up several times,
Yep.
but I think that we should keep that in there, the raising or keeping of a small flock. I think it's good that it's vague and that it's not defined, but I think that without the word small, we may run the risk of two neighbors being in a dispute and someone buying 50 roosters.
No, that's further later described in outlying versus A and B. And I wish I remembered the numbers. All right.
Well, and we're going to go back through all of that stuff because what you have up before page 20 isn't complete as far as the alterations that we've made. I'm still working on it. And I know I do have that flagged as something that some members have said, let's remove it. Some members have said, let's keep it. So that's a discussion that we do have to finalize before we finish everything off.
All right.
So now we're into Route 2 overlay, which is on page 30. And really, I kind of think we should just delete this one because the Route 2 overlay is wholly commercial district property. So it says all uses of the underlying district are permitted. So in order to use the Route 2 overlay, you can do the same thing you can do in the underlying district, but you're subject to more conditions and requirements. So usually what happens with overlay districts is they're created as a way to incentivize someone to do what you want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
So Summer Street is one of our other overlays.
Yep.
And we've talked about some of the uses down there, but there are things that are not allowed in the underlying districts, like mixed use. And by being able to do mixed use, you have to meet the increased, design standards and other aesthetic or physical requirements of the Summer Street Overlay District. Here, the Route 2 Overlay District just says it's an overlay district and you can do everything you can do by right in the underlying district, but you're now subject to these other conditions. So with overlay districts, you can choose to use the overlay district or you can choose to use the underlying district. And if the uses are the same in both,
This is not working as an incentive for anything.
yeah, who's going to say, oh, well, I'm going to do more even though I could do this by right in the underlying district? If they're going to choose to do more, they would just do it. not necessarily say, oh, I'm going to use the overlay district to do this. There are no additional uses outlined in there. And so
So what does it give us?
nothing. That's what I don't,
Strike the whole thing.
that's what I suggest.
Now, what is the Route 2 overlay? What's the actual physical? Is this all of Route 2A in
It's the
town?
No,
2A
it's-
overlay district, and it goes up to the 13 2A
It's- yeah,
split.
13
It's
to
the
the-
orange piece there.
Got it.
13 to the Fitchburg line.
Got it.
And, we don't have trouble attracting people to locate businesses there. If the board feels that,
Did we put the 2A district in because we were trying to attract business? Was there something else we were trying to do?
Walmart?
well, I think they were trying to increase pedestrian safety and access and sort of make that a more walkable corridor, which, is kind of a tough sell on a DOT road that is, well, and it's several lanes and, it's high speed and I think it just, I don't know.
I would suggest that it was created to allow Walmart.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
But you already allowed Walmart by the
Yeah.
commercial district. So I find that
That's not commercially zoned.
the Walmart parcel isn't commercially zoned.
It's the residential, isn't it? It's mixed,
The
Oh,
parcel next
no.
to it is. I think it is
I
commercial.
think you're right.
It's commercial.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if somebody had a good idea that just
Interesting.
wasn't executed in a way that was successful or what. It just, reading through it and looking at what's in that section, I don't see a reason for this to continue to exist.
So it's interior.
Unless the board wanted to look at changing the allowable uses to be things that might not necessarily be allowed in the commercial district in exchange for people doing things like pedestrian access, curb cut consolidation, all of those kind of things.
I agree with you, Mr. Bernie. I think we
Maybe
should
just get rid of it.
Well, okay, so let me also add that the benefit of revising it would be that it conditions that commercial 30-acre piece that was part of the Highfield Village that was actually excluded from the Highfield Village project. So there's still existing 30 acres, I believe?
Yeah.
There is, but it's in the commercial district, and
So if we could make the overlay district be more incentivizing to something that was more beneficial towards the town, then this would be the place to do it.
correct. I mean, I think that parcel's pretty attractive
Yeah, I would
based
say.
on its location.
I would definitely.
I think the only
$1.5 million worth of attractive.
I think the limiting factor for that parcel is going to be access.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to require some negotiation with Brixmore to access through the Walmart Hannaford parcel. But really, for a 30-acre commercial parcel with that much traffic access, I would expect that should be achievable.
Yeah, especially with Pope Road there, not being used. Anyways, I'm not against getting rid of it, the overlay.
Cool, while we're in there, can we get rid of Lake Whalen overlay?
That was my next recommendation.
Well, that's the next one we're on to.
Apparently not.
I was going to say, I think
We
you
can
guys
try
tried
again.
that once.
Drop those off,
try
now
again.
that there's no
Yeah.
contentions being
Right.
dealt with it, right?
Hey, actually, no, I think we should get a new determination from our current zoning officer on whether or not,
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
no?
No, I'm
I
just.
think you should drop the district.
I think we
Just-
should, but I
Just
think we
incorporate
should.
it in with all these changes.
I don't disagree with you. That was my first original intention, but I think we should also inquire as to the current zoning and building inspector, as to his input.
I don't see a value in opening that can of worms.
I think I would agree with Ken, and I think what I would say is, without a project in front of you,
Right, there's no reason.
I think asking for a conceptual opinion isn't the best direction.
Okay.
I get calls like this all the time. This parcel is for sale. What can I do there? Like, look at
Yeah,
this zoning
right.
district, and
Here, look at this.
yeah, I mean, here's the link to our bylaw. This is the zone that's in. Read that, because all I'm going to do is say, well, this says this, this says this. I'm not going to say, oh, you know, what would be great there. If you come to me and say, this is the business I have, I'm looking at this parcel, would this fit? Then, okay, let's get the building inspector together, we'll sit down, we'll look at it, and we'll see how it matches up with the bylaw. But what can I do on this parcel is, here's our zoning bylaw, this is what it says, you figure it out. Just because it's too nebulous. So, Whalum is gone too?
I need to spend more time and think about that.
Okay.
Did you follow along the last couple of years when we had that issue with,
What I'll say is, before you wade into that pool, read the section 2 or 3 times. Look at the district and on the map, and really think about what the 2 pages of the bylaw say. And then if you have questions, come and talk, and then we can go into the history of what happened. I'm only afraid the history would color sort of what's, your reading of it. I encourage you to read it and think about it like with fresh eyes rather than what the board has dealt with over there previously.
I gotta say also though, I'm torn as well because you and I have talked about
Yep.
this and maybe redoing it.
Correct.
To increase walkability, to provide some extra amenities for the people in that neighborhood who now have these.
Yep.
It's a high density.
Yeah.
And you still have the commercial across the street, the golf course, which is recreational. You got
Yep.
all kinds of things going on down there. So there's a lot of potential.
Correct. Now,
I think it would be nice. I mean, that is one of the we're a what three lake community. That's one of the lakes, the smallest, albeit, but it's still accessible.
Sure.
And it's something that I think I would like to see, as it's in my end of town, improved.
And I think what I'll say to that is, I think that's achievable, and I think that as we've talked about before, the bounds of the current district would need to be altered if we were going to do that.
Yeah.
And in doing this, I think we're talking about a more comprehensive process to write something like that, and it may be better to clean this up and then do that process as an amendment and a reinsertion. Only because we're starting to wind down on time to get this done, and I know that there is at least one other, maybe 2 other sections that we have that at least some members of this board have expressed greater concern about and would like to have sort of altered and amended before we submit this. So I'd hate to bite off more that could be, and again, I don't want to minimize the impact that could have, but I also don't want to rush through that process.
I understand what you're saying, and I think that the things that I would like to see changed about it are pretty massive. They're pretty intense to begin with.
It's
So
essentially a structural change
would
of that
be
bylaw.
Yeah, it would be.
And that's why I think
Better
that in and of
change.
itself is a year-long process of community involvement, discussion,
Yep.
thought, that kind of stuff.
Okay, I agree. So, I think I would be behind getting rid of it at this point. But I respect Mr. Jeffrey's hesitance and
Yeah,
desire
definitely.
for some more time.
Definitely read it.
yeah.
Pay a lot of attention to the density portion.
Yeah, I've read this, and
That's
it's,
where we have a lot of conflicting
Yeah.
opinions.
I mean, I read it, when I was going for the appointment and all the questions about Whalum.
Yeah, I wonder who asked
There were
those.
questions about. I don't remember that.
They were anonymous, weren't they?
Awful.
Dave?
Dave's not hearing me.
Go on, keep it on, keep it on.
I think Judy asked yes or no questions, and David asked essay questions.
Sorry.
Sorry, Dave, I can't do that.
So, Tri-Town, I don't think we touch. It's a state-approved
Yeah.
bylaw, and
We're in the middle of it right now anyway, right? So, I mean,
Tri-Town?
yeah.
Yeah, we are kind of in the middle of it.
The last, up phase 3, right? So-
Yeah, and I expect that we're going to see a modification coming in the near future that will finish the project out, that will be to the town's benefit, and I just don't think it's worth touching.
Messing with it, yep.
It's
working.
fairly comprehensively written, it's approved by the state, it's just, let's leave it as it is.
It's a single parcel.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's working.
And then there's Summer Street overlay, which, I think that, it functions well enough. I think we could go and we could probably tidy up the uses and expand or alter them slightly.
Yeah, I'd like actually an opportunity to look over that one.
And that's fine. I was going to suggest that the board, that be the one that we have in here
Yeah, I
that
haven't gotten that far yet.
we would probably really want to have a discussion about.
Yep.
I will say I'm not a fan of overlay districts that say everything in the underlying is allowed in the overlay. You should be outlining a series of uses specifically for the overlay as okay, here's some things that you might want to do. You can do them in the overlay, and here's what you have to do that the town wants out of this. I'll also say that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the project for the reconstruction of Summer Street is out to bid and should begin construction in the spring or summer.
Yeah, it's supposed to start.
Yeah.
So that will potentially open up a significant avenue for people to desire to reconstruct projects in that area. I know that when I got hired here, I was told, well, there's Summer Street, but it's barely Lunenburg. And part of it is, well, it's kind of like, in Maine, you can't get there from here. And you can.
I can.
Well, and the longer I live here, the more I find myself going down Summer Street to get places.
Yeah.
I think part of it is
Caroline.
is the streetscape. You could land a jumbo jet on that street, and people are, is it one lane? Is it two
Didn't there used to be a
lanes?
train going down the middle of it? Wasn't there a trolley on that?
I think so.
That's why it's so wide.
Yeah, and so this will be a construction through
Back in the
Leominster,
heyday.
through Lunenburg, through Fitchburg. So it'll be one unified streetscape, which will, in theory, create an environment that people may want to.
Opportunities down there.
And I agree, and I think that that's why I would like the board to look a little bit more closely at that and come up with some thoughts of what they think would be reasonable and appropriate within that context. It'll be more walkable, it'll be a complete street, it will have streetscaping, landscaping, all the kind of fun stuff that you want to see out
Right.
there.
Kind of like a larger scale village district.
Correct. Or a more linear village district.
All right. Can we go back
No.
to,
It's up to me tonight. By the way,
8 o'clock?
Did you bring your special hat?
there's a gavel here somewhere right now.
The only reason I'm asking to go back is because some of the comments that I had submitted for
And
the
I
previous
haven't
section-
finished doing those earlier section. I went back and
we
I
skipped
reordered
forward?
it. Yes, we skipped forward,
Okay.
and I'm still. What I'm trying to do is have one unified document that has all the changes in it.
Okay.
And as I move forward, I skip back, and I'm a little all over the place with the way I do it, but I have a method to my madness.
Okay. All right, so we picked up here at floodplain.
Picked up at water supply,
I'm sorry, water supply.
which is right before
I had some
floodplain.
floodplain stuff.
Oh, did we talk about floodplain? We didn't.
Floodplain.
We should.
It's not an overlay.
It is.
Is
It is, yeah.
And I would also
Oh, it's based on
recommend.
the FEMA maps.
Yes, I would
from
also
84.
recommend not changing that.
No, it's based on the FEMA.
Because really what that is that's
Well,
that's what
my
allows-
question is, why are we not tied to the Mass GIS floodplain data?
because
It's not.
because it's actually firm maps.
Yeah, it's tied to firm from 1982.
Yes, and that's
As opposed to the Mass GIS floodplain data that's been updated as of July 2017.
having
But only, it has been, but not for Lunenburg.
correct.
They updated in specific areas.
So what happened
So
was
is it older than the,
Yeah, our most recent update
82?
was 82.
it was 82.
Okay.
So in order for people in Lunenburg to participate in the flood insurance rate program, we have to have a bylaw tying us to the flood insurance rate map. And so in the 80s, the feds did a massive floodplain delineation. And the maps that we use were used nationwide for a long time. And really, you should come and look at them because they're kind of a hot mess.
Yeah.
It's a blob of blue overlaid on like a limited street map of the town. And so between 2015 and 2017, the Army Corps went back and they started digitizing a lot of the more urban or developed communities. And in some places, they did additional floodplain studies and changed some of the floodplain elevations or widths, and they took that and they put it into a GIS database and they overlaid it on aerial photography. And the banks went bananas, and people were getting, oh, you need flood insurance left and right. I was in another community when it started in that community, and there's a process called letter of map amendment where if your property's denoted in a floodplain, you can fill out some paperwork and have a survey and have it removed or have the structure removed, and it drastically affects the value of your flood insurance or the cost of your flood insurance. And we would see one or two of them a year. I did 27 the first year that they changed the map because the banks went through, and before there were no structures, there were no property lines, there were oftentimes only 20 or 30% of the streets, and now there was an aerial photograph, and you could like pick out bushes and houses, and oh, well, that touches the foundation, so it could flood the house. And so there was a lot of rush by banks to protect their investments, and they haven't made it to Lunenburg to do that yet. And I don't know if they ever will.
Okay. All right.
Long
So we're
answer
going
to
to
a
go
short
back
question.
and cover.
Yes,
previous-
once we've
Okay.
got a comprehensive.
Then I am fine with closing out this topic.
Moving on.
So I might suggest that with all the recent hubbub and discussion about economic development, that we maybe get an economic development overlay to replace all these other antiquated ones to at least allow for indication of our improvements in infrastructure in the last 20, 30 years. Because there's places that we didn't have water, we didn't have sewer. I think gas may have expanded, I'm not quite sure, but I know the center of town has
Often
gas.
does.
That property of gas, yes.
But I'm done.
So that was, and I really don't think that we're going to get into the map itself.
No, I would say that if the changes pass for use table, accessory uses, everything that we're working on, then they become part of the bylaw. At that point, I would say the board may want to start to have public discussions about altering the map based on the new laws, the new uses, the new, and maybe the discussion is, should we do it? No. Maybe the discussion is, should we do it? Yeah, in some places. So I think that that's a reasonable discussion to have once you've nailed down the uses, because once you change them, then it becomes, okay, what should we do? And where should we do it? And now that we've assigned these uses to these districts, here's where the districts exist. Does that line up with what we want? Could this district be larger? Should this district be smaller? And I think that's the logical next step.
You may also find as the process for the economic development moves along that, some of these categories, some categories might be suggested because you find that you're getting opportunities for grants and things, or, who knows what coming down.
Or there may be an
so-
appetite for something that the board hasn't considered.
Yeah.
Or, didn't think there was an appetite for, so didn't consider.
Yeah.
And, that may drive the process in a different direction.
Well, I'll tell you, this sign application we had tonight
Yeah.
was I think, promoted by this economic development
Oh, yeah, definitely.
discussions.
Definitely.
Would you agree?
I think
that
to some degree, I know that I've spoken to one of the tenants over there for the past 2 years, and she keeps saying, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And I said, well, the building owner has to sign off on it. And she said, I've been trying, I've been
Been a
trying.
recurring thing for a long
Yeah.
time over there.
Yeah, I had that conversation online before I left Facebook. I mean, that was, a year and a half ago, I think. So.
Yeah, you've been off Facebook for that long.
Yeah.
You're better for your health.
Oh, yeah. Although I understand they have a planning board online now, too, on Facebook.
It's called Discussing Lunenburg.
What is this Facebook you speak of?
Stay away from
Someone hits you in the face with a book.
You've met my 4-year-old?
All right, so does that round up our discussions on the use table?
Yes, that covers what I had hoped we would get through tonight.
Awesome. So moving on to the meeting schedule. So November 28th, December 11, 12, 19. So, yes, Tuesday, November
What-
28th, we have tomorrow.
Yes, it is.
We have a 7 o'clock town meeting, and I hope everybody is there.
I will be late, more than likely.
Listening to the band
I'm
concert.
gonna leave early, so you can come in.
There you go. Team. Go team.
What is this MRPC presentation on the 19th?
This is the follow-up to, this is their report and findings on the economic development.
Oh, okay.
So we've got nothing scheduled on the 11th?
Not yet. And a reminder, we do have a meeting Monday night, the 4th.
Right,
Which
We
was
do.
We do.
executive.
Yeah, we'll be in open session to go into executive, to come out, to close the meeting.
So it'll be on our time.
7 PM here.
Okay.
So we have a December 11 with nothing on the agenda. I think that barring any new applications, that we should devote that to the use table?
That would be the hope.
Okay, awesome. So
7 p.m., not 6:30 for us?
Yes, well, it's not,
It's 7
it's a
Oh.
joint.
Joint with the.
Oh, with joint.
So we're,
Okay.
get an extra half hour to eat dinner.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Who eats dinner anymore? All right.
So just so we're all on the same page, come December 11, what areas would you like to attack?
I'm going to, well, we can, I think what we should probably do, I will work to finalize up to page 20, the changes. So we'll be reviewing what we've already done, ensuring that I haven't missed anything or that we're all in agreement. I would anticipate that we could also have a discussion about Summer Street at that time. And then from there, we would move into solar and pot.
Okay, Whalum overlay, do you think you can review that for the 11th meeting? Or
I will.
Would you like more time?
I-
I'm not trying to pressure you at all.
That's plenty of time. I just want to note that Patriots are playing that day at 8:30 at night
Oh,
Are they on the 11th?
on the 11th. Yeah.
even Monday night game?
Oh.
I definitely would want to be out of here by 8:15 the latest.
Same here.
Yeah, we can get that done. We can get a good. If there's nothing else. If
Patriots
there's
used to
nothing
be
else on the agenda, we can move pretty quickly in an hour and a half. So, yeah.
Could drum up another solar.
So
field.
before the Patriots, I was just going to say, so before the Patriots, it's Summer Street, solar, and marijuana. My 3 favorite subjects.
Well, let's
Depends
shoot
on
for
what
at
order
least
you
getting
start
the
with.
review done.
Right, if we start with the
Should I
marijuana, no
reserve
one's
the,
going to want to go.
Should I reserve our conversation, because I think there's a point in the agenda later for this RMD discussion that we started at our last meeting. Should we table that for the discussion on December 11th?
Yeah, I think that's probably, and it doesn't even need, I don't, if we're hoping to review the existing, I think that we should probably take a meeting to go over solar and a meeting to go over RMD. And I think that what you're proposing in that section would be better discussed at the time that we talk about that. I mean, I think you made your presentation at the last meeting in general. I mean, it's on the agenda if you want to have further discussion and everybody's willing. I don't think there's anything holding you back from that. But I think that where we're going through that bylaw, ultimately anyway, I think, changes and corrections might fit into that as well.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'll leave that up to you guys.
Sounds like we have 3 nods over here, so, okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah. I mean, my concern that I brought up last week, I think that you guys have it in your packet, and I'm open to discussing that in December.
Next.
All right, so we have December 12, we have an economic development with select board. MRPC presentation, 8 and 22 of January are still open. That's kind of,
Currently are? They're a little far off. in
that's a
the
little
future.
far, that's a little bit further than I'm used to seeing here.
I
So,
wanted you guys to feel like you were busy, so.
yeah, we've got 3 empty meetings. Look at that. All right, we have an empty room for the public comment. Seeing none. Next thing is ongoing items. Charter review. We had a
we had an
committee
update on.
report,
Mhm.
right? Economic development,
Which we're meeting with the selectmen on the 12th, and then we'll have the presentation in regards to that on the 19th.
okay. Complete streets.
Nothing new?
Why is that on there? What was the reasoning for it becoming on there?
Complete Streets, it's been on there for,
I think it was the adoption of the code,
yeah.
which has
Okay.
been adopted, or the policy.
And the Summer Street design is complete street.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Does that
that's
still
all.
need to be on there as an ongoing item?
I don't believe so.
I guess I was wondering,
So that'll go?
Yeah, so I would scratch charter review and complete streets, because we covered charter review and committee reports.
well, charter review was on there because we wanted input from the planning board for the charter review,
Oh,
right?
for our
Oh.
section?
Yeah,
Oh,
for
okay.
any ideas that, we thought that we should make changes to, but, I mean, we can also table this till the 11th.
I was gonna say, do you want us to put a discussion item on for the 11th and,
Yeah.
and,
Could we do
and book a half hour or so of the meeting for that?
We're only gonna have about 2 hours on the 11th, but.
I'm gonna make
I get
so
the
many
feeling he will
mistakes.
literally just get up and walk out.
So,
Good, we
yeah,
all
so
have
we
our
could-
priorities straight. will you?
FYI, I could care less about football.
Oh, yeah? Good to know. Are you serious?
Because I was playing, and I don't think I could play anymore. And then solar energy systems, which we have agreed that should be a separate meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a.
The
Want
8th
to
and the
tentatively put that
22nd.
in on the 8th or something?
The 8th,
Sure.
The 8th
Yeah.
to the 22nd.
Let's do it on the 8th, because I think that, I think there's a significant amount of discussion to be had about that.
Okay. So tentatively for the 8th, but if we do get applications and whatnot,
Yeah, I mean,
it should.
I think you and I have talked about what I mean by significant discussion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's
Yeah.
the bylaw, and
I mean, it's not a
there's-
lot of change. It's just a significant discussion, I would say. You know what I mean? But I
I
don't
think
think
the
I think
bylaw
there's
needs a lot of
a
change.
ton of discussion. I mean, a ton of change going on.
Maybe a few more definitions and whatnot.
Yeah, I think the bylaw needs a tremendous amount more clarity.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. I think that there's items that are often inferred
Yes.
that are not expressly stated. And I
Correct.
think that,
I would like to add, however, to this list of upcoming items or things to discuss, the verbiage in 8.3, if it needs to change. And I don't know if we have that discussion tonight, but if it needs to change,
I think
It's-
I think that will be on the back of other discussions.
okay, all right,
If you catch my drift.
yep. All right. So, where does that leave us, Mr. Chairman?
That leaves us at 11. Board comments or concerns?
I have a comment. As the newer member of the board, and this has been quite the learning experience, being a part of the board. And I want to take a moment to express my appreciation for Mr. Bittner, who's not here. That he's been very helpful. We've had a lot of conversations just about every week, multiple times a week. He's been a great resource for me, a great guide. And I've also appreciated the professional demeanor in general of everyone else on this board. So, I understand that we all go through life stuff, that things happen, but I just want to express for a moment that this has been a very rewarding experience, and I'm very appreciative of everyone's support so far. I intend to make a decision at about 8:00 p.m. on December the 4th of whether or not I will be running for re-election, and I will make everyone aware then.
Well, I would like to thank you for jumping in with both feet.
Without knowing how hot the water was.
Or deep. Yeah.
Or how heavy the shoes were.
So, student initiative is on that list of comments and concerns, and
Yeah, I don't have any new developments on that. I haven't done much with that in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
So there's still more to do. I did reach out with Heather and our town manager, Heather, and we did kind of come to an agreement on the framework, basically what we were discussed here. She's very much so interested in being an active part of it, but more information to come.
In case I didn't, you didn't get it from my sarcastic comments last time. I am interested in participating in that. If you want somebody to also, move forward with on that, I would be more than happy to do that. I'm sure we could form some sort of, off-site group we talked about. We have two people.
Two members can
Two people can, yeah.
operate without violating open meeting. You could, if you formed a subcommittee, then you'd have to post meetings and that kind of stuff.
But, anything involved with the school, I think that's a great idea, and I'd be more than willing to help out. I've been Corey'd too, so.
You passed though.
So for clarification on that subcommittee, for two
Oh, yeah,
people
do you?
to work in a
Every year?
subgroup, that's not a
Oh,
subcommittee?
2 years, every 2 years, yeah, that's right.
No, not if
I
they're
heard that.
doing it independently.
Okay, so a subcommittee would be
The
two
board
members.
assigning
split-
work to people and calling them a subcommittee, and
So like, open space is an
They're an
ad hoc.
ad hoc committee.
Right? How is that different from a subcommittee?
well, they're not all members of one public body. So it's not like conservation said, we're going to form an open space subcommittee and you three members are that subcommittee. And then once that happens, they become subject to open meeting law for that subcommittee to meet.
Okay.
I believe there's also something in there about you as chairman, I believe, I remember.
assign work.
Can assign a three-member group to do something.
Less than quorum.
It has to be less than a quorum.
Okay, I thought I read in there was a special provision, like if Loxie Joe Collins took some of her, board members and wanted to assign them to a specific task for her.
Isn't there
just-
7 of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was just for, what do you call it? Advisory. Like an advisory subcommittee. I thought that you could form, anyway, maybe I'm off.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Neither here nor there. Let's be safe
if
and go
there's
with
three
two.
people who want to do it, we can look at that and,
Right.
and get an opinion. But
Okay.
if it's just the two of you guys can happily skip along with your picnic basket.
Bunnies and kittens, just like I said.
So the RMD, the registered marijuana dispensaries, did we want
We said we're gonna cover that December 11th.
to, okay.
So I guess we'll put the whole package off till the 22nd. Because I don't think we're going to get through RMDs and the whole review package on the 11th.
What review they've sent the review packet?
No.
Oh.
The review of
I was like, I haven't seen that.
the review of this whole book
Oh, okay.
going back.
I thought you were talking about recreational.
Oh no.
Oh,
They still don't know what they're doing.
okay.
No,
They
actually,
can't give us any advice yet.
that was my comment on that, is that they haven't even finalized the recreational laws.
Yeah.
Correct, but we already have an RMD bylaw.
Right.
And I think that what we're talking about is
modifying it.
potential modifications to that.
Yeah.
To make
Okay.
it more
Yeah.
compliant with state law.
Exactly, the 40 exempt, the 40, right.
Okay, so this stuff has to go home with me. All right. So, Ken?
So, any further board comment or concerns?
None from me. Move that we adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, folks.